Who disrupts my coronation?
Everyone has been destroyed because of this freak. I won't allow it! These babies just saved this lame fest party!
Hello, everybody. We are late. This is supposed to be the regular show that would be out Monday, but it is out on a Wednesday afternoon / evening, and that is because of multiple reasons. One, it's kind of a combined show of the regular show, plus we were going to do a Black Friday sort of prototype show, and that just timing wasn't going to work out with American Thanksgiving happening this weekend. I guess happy Turkey Day, our American fans and friends. So it just made sense to release this now. The deal's coming out right now, today, and then tomorrow on the weekend, obviously. As well as just Birdman has too much going on. He couldn't be on the show because his wife Blair just had major surgery. She's all good, but there's recovery involved there. And with him also being disabled, she's usually his primary help caregiver, because him being completely mobility disabled, usually he requires help from her. But instead, she's going to need to be bedridden, and they need to have other friends and family come help them, just for some of the things, because Blair can't lift anything. You're not allowed to lift anything over 10 pounds. We're talking like even grocery bags for the next few weeks until the doctor approves it. And I had a similar surgery. She had a different type of surgery to the same thing I had, and like legit, I'm somebody who on any given day, like even though I'm not like overly out there, like I don't like lift weights, I am a very strong person by nature, I guess, and just by nature of the beast. I'm able to like lift several hundred pounds, like 200 or 300 pounds. I can lift on my own normally, it's fine. I was carrying a bag that had 2 loaves of bread in it after my surgery, a week after, and walking with my mother at a grocery store just to try to get out and get moving. And I got about 20 or 30 steps in the mall at the time, and I stopped dead in the middle of the mall. And I told my mom, like, I was sweating. I had to hand her the bag. I'm like, I have to go sit down for like at least 10 minutes. Holding the bag was so exhausting on my body and it was like 2 pounds. So when they say, after major abdominal surgery, do not lift more than 10 pounds, they freaking mean it. So she's, doing well, but sort of out of it and she'll be out of it for a few weeks at least. So he wanted to take a break. He's still recording some things, but couldn't really do the regular show. I decided, hey, with this week, there's lots of news, but we should do something when we're both together because of some of the bigger news happening right now. So I was like, okay, well, already I'm not sure 100% what we were going to do with the regular show. And then I had a lot of things given for review and things that we had to sort of try to get done for our gift guide. There's some back end stuff I've been trying to work out that's just not going to get done. I'm just not going to be able to get the website the way I want it on the back end, or some of the art done ready. We're going to have to push the projects back. I also just some health stuff with me, like as far as, don't worry, like nothing major, nothing out of the ordinary, but with my own disabilities, there's certain swelling and pain and certain things that will come and go at different degrees and levels. And it was more troublesome than normal. Nothing alarming that I'd have to go to the hospital change, but sort of the ebbs and flows of my own disability. This was a more difficult last week or so. And rest is really the only cure for that. And it was hard to rest is what I'm sort of saying. And that mixed in with some bureaucracy regarding transit that I have to sort out. I have to get some certain things renewed and do some additional testing. Not testing of like physical health, but testing for approval for. It's like, if you want to be able to have our mobility service for your mobility-based disability, you've got to find your way out to this place and do a test with us to see that you still need it. Well, I still freaking need it, so I'll be doing that in the next couple days, and then just the mental fatigue of doing a lot. Like, I was sent a bunch of RPGs, and I know, it's not trying to complain. Like, it's like, oh, Alex, it's not a job, it's just a hobby, you're doing the podcast. Yeah, but you're trying to do a good job, especially if you're getting things for review. And when you get a bunch of games that are like 20 to 30 hours a piece all at once, and they're all coming out around Christmas and holidays, and you're trying to do it, and you're mixing that in with your own health issues and stuff going on behind the scenes with your colleagues, it's like, it's a little too much. And I just wasn't going to make the deadline that we usually have, which is recording Sunday evening or the very, very latest Monday morning to release. And I went, all right, Alex is broken. My brain's broken. Not, it's not, I needed a mental health day or two. And I just took 2 days off and basically shut out the internet. Only would check the phone for the occasional emergency message if something popped up, and just tried to recover and played a little bit of something for myself. I ended up playing Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, the Sith Lords, just for myself because it was down to like $4 on Xbox. Now that is because I one of the reviews that is either going to be in this show or it'll be in our Tour to Treasure show later this week is I got Knights of the Old Republic 1 on the Switch for review and liked it. There's issues with it, but liked it enough that I wanted to play the sequel. So other than that, there's not much new other than I've been trying to get organized what our content is going to be coming up, and also dealing with some logistics because some of the packages of things we were supposed to receive haven't come in yet, and they're for our holiday gift guide. And what I'm hearing is there's sometimes like what should be a 2 or 3 day lead time on some of these packages are turning into weeks and weeks and weeks because of not enough drivers, not enough warehousing, not enough drivers. The logistics of things just aren't moving around there. It's almost worse than it was during the pandemic, like at the height of the pandemic. So it'll be interesting to see how things work, but we are going to be covering some other stuff. That's a bit of, inside baseball, some background stuff that way. I was going to be going to see the opening of Ghostbusters in IMAX tomorrow. But I ended up pushing that back to Tuesday, partially because I have a membership at the one theater where I can get the free ticket for that day, and partially just I realized until Monday when I'm going to go visit some family and stay for a few days, I've got to do all the podcast stuff recording. We're going to get things ready for the Stargate recording. The only time I want to leave the house, I want to put my feet up. I want to just try to relax and recover. Just get myself in order. The only time I want to go out is when I have to go for my mobility sort of assessment thing, which I'm doing on Friday. Friday at 8 in the morning, I got to get up and go, and they're picking me up. I arranged them at least to pick me up to go to the assessment because my initial mobility membership had expired at the end of the month, and they're like, and we're setting in an evaluation time for that in the middle of November. And I'm like, but how do I get to you if you and they at first didn't understand the conundrum of I use the mobility transit, which is either they send a cab that's accessible or they'll send the mobility based bus, and it's like it's one of those buses where they have a ramp you can walk on and like I'm not like Michael, I'm not in a wheelchair. I use a cane to get around, but there are some days where with my swelling in my joints and my one leg that has pretty bad lymphedema, there are days where it's like, oh, I can't bend the knee. I'm trying, it won't bend, or you're stiff, or you're too sore to go too far, and it makes exercise in the first place pretty difficult. It's pretty systemic through the whole system, though, is where it affects the joints, the muscles, the nerves, everything. And it's like, oh, could you go to the regular transit? It's like, well, that's a 25-minute walk for me to get to the right bus if the weather's behaving, and I could get to there and then be like, try to get on the city bus and then find out that it's like, oh, I'm too sore to get home on the city bus. So that's what the mobility transit is. When I've mentioned it before, is you book online or call them at least 24 hours ahead, up to 7 days ahead, and you book a trip at certain times, and they'll give you a window of like 20 minutes where they'll come pick you up, and they'll drop you off where you need to go, and it's all covered as part of a nominal fee. So if I were to take a regular cab, let's say I had to go to this place to get the assessment, and it's if I looked it up, I think it's like $40 a cab ride there, and then $40 back, because it's up way far away from where I am in the city, one city over, but we're connected as part of a region. And I'm like, well, damn, that's $80 I don't have to do that. With the mobility service, when you're approved, it costs you either the same fare that a city bus would cost if you paid it cash, or you can buy tickets. And if you're approved for tickets, which I am, it costs me $1.75 for each ticket. So I'm looking at, no, sorry, $1.49. So I'm looking at $3 for a round trip instead of 80. So I understand why they need to do assessments. Like my grandmother is in it because she's a fall risk, and she's got early stage dementia. She's in the same service that I am. It covers people that have mobility issues. It covers people that have cognitive issues or balance issues, that sort of stuff too. So for me to go, like, I understand the assessment aspect of it, but like somebody like my grandmother, she's approved for 3 to 5 years at a time. But for younger people, or depending on what your mobility situation is, they want to approve you, I think, yearly or every other year. It's like, so I get it. I need to get that approved, because hot damn, I'm not spending $80 to do a round trip. Plus, when you consider gas prices, even if I had a car and I was driving around, how expensive that would be. So normally I'm very happy with it, because the mobility service, I can get pretty much anywhere I need to go within the region for $1.50 each way. So yeah, that's sort of the background on that. And I know Birdman is approved in his city for mobility because of his wheelchair situation, but the buses that they use in Guelph, because it's a different region, the buses they use there are too small for his wheelchair base. His wheelchair is too wide, like wheel to wheel. So he has to use cabs there, and they use taxi scripts, which basically means that you buy, like, let's say you buy a $80 worth of taxi fare for $40. You basically pay half price. That program is here too, but if the buses were more accommodating there, he could take the regular bus there for like $3. Here, our buses are larger, like they're just bigger. Whatever ones they purchased are larger with wider openings, and otherwise he could totally do the same thing where he is. So hopefully maybe they'll work that shit out at their service. But that's what it is. Like the mobility service is not like Wheel-Trans, which is sort of what you might think of if we hear mobility service. It's more like, it's not just Wheel-Trans, it's anybody with mobility based issues that regular transit is either not an option or too difficult, or frankly in the winter sometimes they'll approve certain people for the winter, that they'll do like, okay, you're approved from December until March, and those are for people that maybe live in an area where there's not, the accessibility to transit is too difficult because it's too hard to get through, like, say, a public park that isn't maintained like mine. So even if I wasn't approved for a full pass like I have been, I could be approved for the winter because it's too dangerous to walk outside because of ice and stuff. So yeah, that's again, bit of background stuff. That's some of the stuff I'm dealing with. I'll get that sorted out in the weekend, by the weekend. And as far as other things that we're going to be doing, I'm going to mention here, before we go into our regular our Black Friday deals, a couple of the reviews that I've been working on, and a couple things that I'm going to be talking about for our gift guide as it comes up. And I'll throw a link for at least one or two of these in the show description if you're looking for some Black Friday deals. One is, we were contacted by a company called Circuit Mess, and what they make are do-it-yourself kits for STEM projects for schools, which is science, technology, engineering, mathematics. That's the big push on tech and school education that was just starting when I was in the middle of high school. That stuff was being proposed at the grade school level in the States. Now I think it's pretty much part of everything that most school boards and everything do. And what they do is, you know how you get like little gaming systems or little Raspberry Pi or Arduino do-it-yourself piece together hardware type stuff. It's like that, only they're kits that I think kids would find more interesting. And one of the things they sent me was a portable 8-bit or like portable gaming system, sort of like a Game Boy Micro, but you piece it together yourself. And by that I mean they give you all the components, like all the buttons, the circuitry, the housing, the screen, and everything. They even give you a soldering kit, and they show you how to do it. And the idea is that you'd sit with your parents if you're a kid, or as an adult hobbyist, you just get this and do it yourself. And you learn about how electronic components work by piecing it together yourself. And when you're done, you end up with a little gaming system that has a few little built-in games, and then you can use their software that they have on their website to learn to code and some rudimentary stuff, not difficult, like sort of like the game builder garage from Nintendo type thing, where you're sort of building simple games to learn how it all works. So they sent over a kit that is sealed that I'll be opening up, and hopefully if I find my head mounted camera, I might put it together myself and record and put on YouTube, because I've never actually soldered anything before personally. I've maybe done like a little joint here or there when I worked in retail, and my boss was showing me how to do laptops, very delicate component replacements using a soldering iron, because he was Toshiba certified and he was the only one in the area that was, like, for the whole region. People would send stuff to our store, and I was going to be primed to do that before I stopped working there. But that'll be funny if it says it's good for a 9 or 10-year-old, I should be able to figure it out. But they also sent a completed unit, which is what I've been playing around with for a little bit, and we'll probably go as a stocking stuffer to my brother and see if he can program some games for it, or maybe I'll try it out myself. But I've been playing around with that, so I'll put a link for it, because they make a few other projects that look really interesting, and they're based out of Europe and the EU, so they ship anywhere. And they shipped it here, and it was here in like 3 days, which is funny because some stuff from the States has been taking 2 or 3 weeks and we haven't received it. So I'll put a link in there for that, because it might be an interesting little do-it-yourself project that doesn't look nearly as daunting or difficult as you might think. As well as Knights of the Republic, Riders Republic. I've also been working on Blue Reflection, Second Light. I'll have a lot of these are going to be in a Turtle Treasure review roundup, probably the end of the week here, because some of them are going to be out, or depending on what embargoes are on them, we'll see. We've also got some products hopefully coming in to have our holiday gift guide in the next few weeks. Birdman is working on a few games, like he's working on Fatal Frame. He's working on something else. We are getting a copy of Pokemon. He'll be reviewing that, and that might be 2 weeks, might be a week, because we're told we're getting a day one, like a review code, which has been happening more lately with Nintendo. We're not getting as many beforehand. It seems to be the strategy now is they give them out to a lot of the reviewers right out the day of release, which is fine. I mean, it's not an indication on any, or an indication of any review problems. It's just that's how Nintendo seems to be doing it overall now. As far as anything else is concerned, there's a bunch of movies and stuff that I've been watching, and stuff from Paramount that we've got to discuss, and some stuff from Mill Creek. So that'll all be coming later on this week. And because of that, we're actually not going to be having the regular news. So what we're going to have for this show is regular news is going to be replaced with the deals guide for Black Friday that I recorded. We're also going to have my review of Shin Megami Tensei 5 as an extended, about I think it's about, it's got to be nearly 20 minutes discussion on it. That'll be replacing the weird news this week, because it's roughly the same length as what we would do for weird news. And Birdman has a couple reviews here. One that, sorry, I was supposed to have it out on Monday with the regular show, but I turned my brain off so that I wouldn't get into a depressive world is ending state of mind, and I let myself decompress. But we've got Netflix's Cowboy Bebop from him. That is how we're going to start out before we go into the deals guide. And then we're also going to have a review. Let me pick one here. let's go with Optimus Primal. He's got a toy there to talk about. So those reviews will be in the show as well. And maybe something else. We'll see. It all depends on how this is all going to slot together, but that's pretty much what the show is going to be like. And I'll come back at the end and sort of play us out and give you an introduction of what's happening with our programming in the next week or so, because it's pretty busy and some stuff we got to catch up on. So without further ado, here is Birdman's review of the new Netflix Cowboy Bebop.
I think it's time we blow this scene. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's jam.
Hey there, Space Cowboys. It is I, Mike the Birdman, and I'm here to talk to you about something really special that Netflix gave us early access to. I'm talking about the live-action adaptation of the classic anime series Cowboy Bebop. And this is a series I didn't quite know what to think until I started seeing trailers and promo stuff from it, because I was one of the people that thought there is no way in hell they're going to do this justice, especially on a Netflix budget. However, with things like Stranger Things and The Witcher and many other successful Netflix shows and movies, I've been proven wrong. And here is an example of something I didn't think could actually work, but I am very pleased that it does. So the series sees John Cho, who I know him from Harold and Kumar, of course, but also Star Trek. Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black. I know him as Bushmaster from Luke Cage Season 2, and Daniela Pineda, I think that's her name, as Faye Valentine, and I think she's in the Jurassic Park movies as like a technician or something. Anyway, the casting here really, really works. Like, I think you couldn't have cast the three leads any better. I will admit, Faye Valentine is a little bit annoying in the first couple of episodes, but once she hits her stride, that character is wonderful. Although I really think the standout star in this is Mustafa Shakir as Jet Black. He is astounding as Jet. I was honestly surprised just how well he emotes in these, frankly, ridiculous situations. There's one episode involving a birthday present. I'm not going to say too much more than that, and it's funny. And there's just a lot of really good witty banter between the three of them. I think Daniela Pineda gets some of the best lines in this series as Faye Valentine. Also, John Cho, I think this is one of the best performances in his career. Everything in this series looks great, and some of the promos and some of the articles discussing the show have mentioned how the show doesn't have a very bright color palette. That really changes, I would say, at least in my experience with it. It looks really good. Also, the bad guy, who we all know is Vicious, the white-haired guy with the katana, starts off kind of goofy and then becomes really, really awesome towards the end of this series. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you what happens because, hey, you got to watch it. But it takes classic episodes, follows plot lines-ish, but does its own thing. Because, like I said, it's been a really long time since I've watched the actual anime series. Although I did watch Asteroid Blues with my friend while we were watching this. And I liked how many of the things they hit, but also things they didn't hit along the way. It does its own thing. And I am, frankly, really surprised how well it works. The music of Yoko Kanno is also used in a really organic way, and they use pieces where you don't really expect it. One of my favorites is a piece called Black Coffee, and there's a point where Spike is getting into the Swordfish 2, which is his red little ship, and it just plays a sample of Black Coffee, and just it works so well. And there's even some episodes which have like these little intros which will play with the tank theme song for a couple of seconds before it transitions into the actual piece of show music that leads into the intro. And the intro There's been a couple of side-by-side comparisons which have been done. It follows it really, really, really well. The bad guys in this series some of them are funny. The guy that plays the teddy bear person is particularly funny. And they do one episode, and he's in the trailer, so it's no surprise. The one where they have Pierre LeFou, who is the guy who was experimented on, the guy who can fly and is the clown, they changed certain aspects of that, and it works a little bit better here. And I was so surprised they included most of that fight scene as it was done in the anime. At least from what I remember. I've seen a couple of animated music videos where they show almost the entire episode, and the live action version hits so many of the same notes. And like I said, I'm tremendously pleased with this. I am so surprised that Netflix could pull this off. And honestly, it was worth the wait. I am so happy that we got a proper anime adaptation out of Netflix, because let's be frank here, the Death Note version sucked. This doesn't suck. I am really gonna go to bat for this. Like, anime adaptations have a lot to live up to, and there haven't been very many, if any at all, that have really lived up to the hype. I mean, we saw the disaster that was Dragon Ball Evolution all those many years ago, and I liked it for a laugh. And then we saw an earnest attempt, but it just didn't turn out right, with Death Note. But Cowboy Bebop had the right creative team, had the right cast, the right writers, and they changed just enough to make it interesting and make it new and exciting. You're not just seeing a one-for-one recreation of the series that came out in the 90s. You're seeing something for 2021, and I think, except for one part that happens at the very, 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 very end, it's very true to things, but it's a little, okay, that's a little bit out there, but sure, why not? I like it. I really recommend it. I'm probably going to go back and rewatch this again. It's 10 episodes of well-spent television. My wife, who's recovering from surgery, watched a good chunk of this with me, and she's like, I actually kind of like this. And I remember showing her Firefly years ago, and she compared it. She's like, it's kind of like Firefly, but a little goofier. I'm like, yeah, that's a pretty good way to kind of look at it. So when this comes out later on, please check this out. Cowboy Bebop, the live-action Netflix adaptation, definitely is worth 2.5 million oolongs, and you should check that out. Or is it woolongs? I'm not sure.
Hey, nut buckets! There's no payout if you shoot him in the face.
That was him. Please. I got him with 3 clean slugs in the leg.
I never miss, and I aim for his leg.
Never miss?
Never.
You aim for the face.
I did not. You
That's why
clearly
he doesn't
got him.
have a face.
The Prime Minister of Sweden visited Washington today, and my tiny little nipples went to France.
Gossip, rumors, panic in the streets. We're lucky.
This Week in Geek.
News.
Well, it's the time of year again. It is time for our Black Friday deals discussion. Normally, this is a 2 or 3 person gig with Birdman joining me and possibly somebody else. But with Birdman taking the week off to just sort of relax and recuperate because his wife Blair having major weight loss surgery, it wasn't feasible for us to get together to record this. So I'm going to fly solo. I've taken some time to gather stuff together, and from a few different sources. There's Reddit, there's different tweets, there's flyers that are local. I should note, as with previous years, these are deals in Canadian dollars from the Canadian sites, which you might be wondering, as one of our American listeners, how is this useful to you? Generally, you have better buying power. So if you go to one of the stores, a lot of times the American stores won't ship to Canada for some reason, but most of the Canadian stores will ship to the States. Plus, with the land border open up again, you're likely able to drive up as long as you're fully vaccinated. I think it's weird. I think Canadians going to the States have a harder time right now, so I don't think there's going to be so many of us going down to pick up things. It's probably going to be mostly digital online. But I will go into some of the flyer details, but I sort of got a list here of the best deals, and I'll talk a little at the end about some suggestions I have that are, off the beaten path, that are not just gaming in general itself. But as far as the gaming deals, we're going to break them down into ones that are from Nintendo, ones from Sony, and then deals that can be had on Xbox titles. Some are going to be sort of crossed over in that, especially if it's a multi-platform release, they're going to be similar prices. And again, Canadian money, so expect it to sound a little higher than what you're used to if you're in the States. But for instance, a regular priced retail full game is $79.99. It's been that way in Canada for about 7 years now, whereas we used to have it $59 at parity with the Americans. So our prices went up when our dollar went weird, but this is the normal retail price. So when you see a price that's like $55, that would be the equivalent of an American paying, I guess, $40 or $45 for a game. So you might want to do a little bit of checking between it, but a lot of times you'll see things like either the games are the same in the States and Canada on sale, or sometimes you'll see that the Canadian deal ends up being better or on slightly different titles. So it's worth checking. And if you're a collector out there getting a retail physical copy, the only difference you're going to usually see on a box or anything, especially in the newer ages where extra languages get downloaded separately, is the box will have English on it and then it will have French if it's an official Canadian thing. Sometimes when you're ordering online from a Canadian store, it might actually be American stock. So then it will just be that. So if you're into variants or if you want specific labels, I don't know, some people are like that, just keep that in mind. So, firstly, Nintendo games that are on sale. Bravely Default 2. That's going to make it probably into our final gift guide later on and discussions on like best RPG of the year. Thoroughly enjoyed it when I reviewed it earlier in the year. And it is being marked down from regular retail price at $80 to $55. That's a pretty big chunk for a fairly new and fairly prestigious game when you consider that I think a lot of people forgot it came out this year. But that is right across the board from Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy. The Source, for our American listeners, The Source used to be called, it was The Source by Circuit City after Circuit City bought Radio Shack. So yes, Radio Shack survives up here as The Source. And I believe they do ship to the States, as well as GameStop. We used to have EB Games, but EB Games finally rebranded into GameStop. So I might, as we're talking, mess up and say EB, but you know what I'm talking about. So across the board, $55 down from $80. There is Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, if you're into that, plus a like expansion pack attached to it, down to $50 from $80, and that's GameStop. You've also got, we're going to skip sports, Kirby Star Allies. So it's a first party title. Now this was one of the best games at the time when it came out on the Switch. It's been a few years now, probably 2 or 3 years, but remember, first party Nintendo title, they don't usually drop in price. So $55 down from $80. Very fun, very inventive, also kind of smart if you're looking to get something to get prepared for the next open world big Kirby game coming out next year, which might be one of the last major big first party titles on the Switch before we start hearing rumors and rumblings of maybe a next generation console. As far as other things here, we're going to skip sports titles. If you're looking for a physical sort of toy to unwrap, if it's in stock, I'm assuming they're probably going to have a fair bit. It looks like right across the board again, Amazon, Walmart, Best Buy, The Source, GameStop. The Mario Kart Live, Mario and the Luigi box sets. That's the thing where it's a little race car that you control with your Switch itself. $90 down from $130. So that's a sizable discount if you're looking to get something and you have the room for it. We both, Birdman and I, don't, so it didn't make sense for us to review it or pick it up. But sure, New Super Mario Brothers U Deluxe down to $55. It looks like a lot of the first party titles are that way. Ni no Kuni 2 Revenant King Princess Edition, $50 down from $80. That's a pretty good deal considering it's great. Now that game is going to be better and a lot cheaper on a PlayStation 4, but you can't play that on the go. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, they're doing the bundle for the Switch where it comes with Mario Kart 8. I'm surprised that there's any more copies to be sold, but they're advertising it as MSRP at $460 for the bundle, and that they're selling it for $380. I would honestly skip it if you can get an OLED edition. It's just worth it if it's your first Switch, and if you're getting a second Switch, you probably already own Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. So this, to me, to be honest, screams, let's get rid of all the old stock that we have of the consoles. Don't be duped into getting it that way. You're better off either, if you're getting it for kids as a portable thing, get them the Switch Lite. If you're getting your first Switch, get the OLED one if you can get it. I've seen it come in stock multiple times on Amazon, so I don't know. Maybe consider that. Paper Mario is also on sale for that $55. Ring Fit Adventure is on for $70, down from $100. I think that was popular. I'm not 100% sure, but sure. Splatoon 2 is again part of that $55 deal, as is Mario Maker 2. Breath of the Wild should be $20 now. It was a launch title, but because it's Nintendo, it's not. So if you're somebody who's just coming to the system now, maybe I'm going to say get a used copy. See, again, I don't know how many people trade it in, but if you can go to your local GameStop, look for it used, because so many copies are out there in the wild. And if you can't find it, you absolutely must get it. Or if you're somebody who does pick up an OLED Switch and then you don't want the Mario Kart bundle or anything, maybe pick up this game with it. And same goes for Link's Awakening, $55 down from $80. Pretty decent deal. Those are the named titles. I'll go into the flyers after this. These are the deals that have been officially advertised on bigger games that are pretty much every retailer is offering the same thing, because they all get the same deal from Nintendo for that. As far as PlayStation goes, Alan Wake Remastered is already getting a $10 off discount, which is something I'm going to keep an eye out for at GameStop. That is, both the PS5 and PS4 editions are $30, down from $40 Canadian. $10 off, for a game that was already released at a sort of discount price. I actually own it on the Xbox. I must have bought it a long time ago digitally, and I think it showed up because it was added as part of the backwards compatibility pack. So maybe I owned it and it wasn't in my list of games because it wasn't backwards compatible or something at first, and I've never actually played it, and I'm hesitating to play it because I'd rather play the new version. So I'm gonna, maybe if I don't get that for Black Friday, that might be an Alex gets it for Christmas sort of deal, or Boxing Day, because it'll probably be similar deals. Back for Blood, if you're on the PlayStation, you can get it here for $60 instead of $80. If you don't get it on Xbox, because it's already part of Game Pass, so if you have the ability to play it on an Xbox and you have Game Pass, don't bother buying it. But if you only have a PlayStation, that's a decent deal for it. Let's see here. Deathloop. Yeah, okay. It's $20 off. Okay, here we go. Demon Souls. Here's where the deals really start to come into place. So, actually, Death Stranding is $50, down from $65, but Demon Souls, that is one of the new premium price games. So in Canada, that means it's $89.99 for a PlayStation 5 title, certain titles. So, $90 down to $50. That's a reasonable chunk, and that's going to be specifically at Walmart or GameStop. Those two stores are having a sale on that. So that's almost 50% off. And it is a fantastic title. Too Hard for Me. Very beautiful. It's better. It looks like it performs better too than pretty much all the other Souls games, and even maybe Elden Ring. I've seen the footage of it. This seems to be the smoothest, but it is also a remake. But that was the system seller for a lot of people. And if you somehow, you weren't able to get a PlayStation 5, but then, you're able to find one since then, or you paid a scalper, which I really don't recommend doing, or even if you don't have the system yet, that's the cheapest it's been. It might be the game, pick it up piecemeal, pick it up now, and then when you can get the system, get the system and you already have the game and you got it for basically half off. We're going to skip again all the sports titles that I found. The Final Fantasy VII remake, that is the PS4 version, is down on most websites like Amazon and GameStop, down from 80 to 35. So we're talking basically almost 60% off. Now, if you have the PlayStation 5, though, and you want to get the enhanced version, Intergrade, that also lets you play the Yuffie DLC, that is normally $89. It's down to $54. That is a deal. Pick it up if you haven't already, or if you're planning at some point of playing the Final Fantasy VII remake. God of War is half off. That's the PS4 version, down to $10. Same with God of War 3 Remastered. So if you don't have the PlayStation Plus collection, if you're not a PlayStation Plus subscriber, where it comes as part of the bundle for free, then it's worth $10 for the disc. Same with Ghost of Tsushima is on for $50, down from now this is the Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut. This is where it's interesting. There's two different prices. So Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut on PlayStation 5 at Walmart is $50, down from $90. Ghost of Tsushima Director's Cut at GameStop is $59, down from $90. So if you can get a copy at Walmart, it's $10 cheaper than anybody else, and that's basically almost 50% off. And that was in my personal opinion, the best game of last year, hands down. Like, I was torn between that and Final Fantasy, but when you consider, like, Final Fantasy, as much of a remake and imagining that it was still working off of a framework of nostalgia. That we love it because we know its history and why it's different. As far as a brand new IP, Ghost of Tsushima was the best game last year. So if you can get it for basically half price on PS5, where it was already one of the best looking games on PlayStation 4, especially if you had a PS4 Pro and you had replaced the hard drive internally with an SSD so it loaded a little faster. This is like, you load anywhere in the game for like 2 seconds and you can jump around the map. It's fantastic on PS5. Hades is down $10 to $30 from $40, and that's at GameStop. Either both the PS4 PS5 edition. Life is Strange True Colors is down to $55 from $80. That's a better price point for it. It's a good game, but it's not long enough or involved enough in my mind to really warrant the $80 price. But the way that is, it's pretty good. Lost Judgment is down to $40 from $80. Both PS4 and PS5 versions at GameStop, which is good. We're going to skip some of the sports title stuff. And Miles Morales. Marvel Spider-Man Miles Morales. The PS4 version and PS5 versions, both of them, so get the PS5 if you can, are down from $65 to $40 at GameStop and Walmart, which is that's a pretty good deal overall. More sports titles, let's skip that because, to be honest, in a couple days they're going to be like $1. Is you can get from GameStop a PlayStation Plus 12-month subscription for $47, down from $70. That's not bad. If you can spare the change, you could actually buy 2 cards for just under $100 and have 2 years worth. And again, if you're an American, you can buy the Canadian one. The currency works on the same store. So based on our currency exchange, that would be like, I don't know what your deal is in the States, but that would be like you paying $35 for a year. So if that ends up being worth it to you, the code works on the North American store. So like, for instance, whenever we get games to review, sometimes we'll get a very specific, like for Nintendo and a few other companies, there'll be a Canadian code generated, but it just means it's generated for the Canadian store. There's never really a separation between digital, like PlayStation, Xbox, and Nintendo for the North America servers. Whereas if you try to, for instance, activate a European code from like a card, let's say you bought a PlayStation Plus membership in the UK, the code may not work if your account is registered in North America. But if you are in Canada, Mexico, or the US, anything you buy from the 3 countries, any codes you buy anywhere, or cards, memberships, yada yada yada, they will work, and they'll work just the same. So you might be able to get that. And with GameStop, sometimes the interesting thing too is you might not even have to wait. It might be a digital option in the store where they email you the code. If that's the case, my American friends, you might want to check it out. Ratchet and Clank, the previous one for the PS4 is $10, down from $20 at GameStop, and Rift Apart is down to $60 from $90. That is a killer deal. That is personally, at least right now, in the running for the best game of the year. Doesn't matter what system, best game of the year period for me. So great. Returnal is down to $60 from $90. That's getting closer to where I think its price point should be. I still think it's a $40 game. Other people got more value out of it, but to me, it's a $40 game. I'm not a big bullet hell guy. I'm also not a big roguelike, but I just didn't feel like there was enough there other than its fantastic visuals and the tight controls. Riders Republic, which I believe in either this week's show or next week's show, we're talking about it briefly, is down to $50 from $80, both PS4 and PS5 at GameStop. Sackboy: A Big Adventure is both the PS4 and PS5 versions are down from $80 to $40, so it's 50% off at Walmart and GameStop. And then Tales of Arise is down to $50 from $80 at GameStop, which is still a great deal. And then we're going to move on to Xbox now. Then those are just the specific games there. I will go over if there's any more in different flyers. Some places will do like a buy 2 get 1 deal, or they might have other discounts on top of that. But those are the ones that are named. As far as Xbox goes, very similar to the deals previously. So I'm going to skip some. If it's a multi-platform release, and I talked about it in the PlayStation discussion just a little bit earlier, then it's the same thing will be on for the same price on the Xbox as well. Mass Effect Legendary Edition, I think I forgot to mention that on PlayStation, but the Mass Effect Legendary Edition, both on PlayStation and on Xbox, is down to $40 from $80 at GameStop, so it's a 50% off deal for the best value of the year. I'll tell you that right now. Best value considering all the upgrades they did. It runs like a breeze. Also, for it to not crash with every other game right now releasing on systems seems to be crashing. It was well bug tested for sure. As far as anything, very specific to the Xbox, they're not really advertising anything like that because a lot of the first party titles are free on Game Pass. So I don't see them really advertising a sale anymore in the traditional sense. They may have some digital ones on there, but as far as retail, there's no retail discount on any of the actual specific Xbox games, which is unsurprising considering. Ubisoft is also running a digital Black Friday deal. Now, as far as that is concerned, I'm pulling it up right now because I know that they update it fairly frequently. Sometimes they add things as they go. So it's up to 80% off. Apparently, you can up to 80% off the games individually, and then you can add a code Black Friday or BF20, and you can get an extra 20% off your whole order, which is a pretty good deal. So Riders Republic is going for, like I said, 60 Canadian. You can get an extra 20% off with that code if you go digital. As far as other best deals they have listed there, Watch Dogs Legion Ultimate Edition, $52, down from $160, plus a 20% off of that even if you add that code to your cart. That's pretty crazy actually. That's a big chunk. That's 75% off the Ultimate Edition with all the DLC and everything, all the expansions and all that other stuff, plus an extra 20% off if you do it with the code. So if you're not too big on collecting full retail box copies, I mean, you can't really go wrong at that price, honestly. As far as anything else, it's pretty much everything is down $20, $30, $40 for Like the Division 2 is $12, down from $40. So they're trying to push some games that maybe have lost some of the popularity recently, but they still want to pump it out because it's just taking up server space, right? Immortals Phoenix Rising, which was one of the better games from last year, $32 down from $80. Apply that 20% off code, get even more. And pretty much everything, like Far Cry 3 Blood Dragon, $4.50 down from $15. So lots of killer deals. The best one being Watch Dogs Legion Ultimate Edition, getting it for 75% off. That way cheaper if you're going digital that way. So maybe consider that if you haven't already picked it up. It's probably worth it. And as far as flyers and other deals are concerned, Nintendo has an official hot this holiday guide for their holiday gift guide. Some have discounts, some don't. Like some games that are new releases, like Metroid Dread is not discounted. Neither is Big Brain Academy because it's not technically out yet. But it's mostly the same deals I talked about on the list earlier. So I'm not going to go into too much detail there at all. They're not having like any weird exclusive deal that I can't find on other retailers, and it's just getting it digitally that way. As far as Walmart is concerned, gaming wise, we've got a pretty decent spattering. There's going to be other accessories and stuff that weren't games that I'll list off briefly here as well if you're looking to pick up. I know most people want first party stuff, but the PDP face off wired controllers where you can change the faceplates, they're $30. That's $5 off, usually 35 Canadian. And their PDP Switch headsets are 30 down from 40. Pretty good deal. They're decent headphones for wired sets for sure. As far as anything else, not a ton of first party accessories from what I can see. Nothing really at all in that realm. Now they are offering some other discounts. It says some stuff, come in the store and see what we got extra for even cheaper. It's like, I don't want to. Like they're trying to really get people to come into stores. They're pushing a Lexar 128 gig micro SD card for $18, $10 off. That's basically Amazon prices, but in store it's not bad. As far as Walmart's concerned, I think the movies and TVs and all that are probably better deals. We're not going into that, except to say they've got a lot of Black Friday Blu-ray deals on like Disney titles, and it's like Disney, Warner, and Universal. Blu-rays that are down to like $17, regularly like 22-ish or so. So I wouldn't say go out to a store specifically to get that stuff, but if you're already going to get gaming related media and stuff, you're already there. Maybe look in one of the bins. As far as like what's on the front cover, what's the big hoopla, because it's always the front cover, and that's the most important that gets you pulled into the store. And they're advertising like coffee makers. It's not as big of a sale deal as I used to seeing from them. As for GameStop, they've got obviously a whack of more things. They're advertising Gears Tactics for $40. They're saying save $40, except that again, this is a game that's free when you have a Game Pass Ultimate subscription. So, and I've also seen it if you're a Game Pass Ultimate subscriber or like a Games with Gold or a Gold subscriber, a lot of times you can get it for like $20 as a member already. Just purchase it so that if you stop subscribing, you still have the game. So I don't know. Now, Watch Dogs Legion, they're advertising it at $40 for the physical copy here. When I looked earlier, remember it was $47 for the Ultimate Edition digitally if you wanted to go that route. Now, they're also offering, was it Game Pass? Alex has to zoom here because screen too small. But there is GameStop is offering a Game Pass 3-month membership, which they're regularly $50. They're advertising it for $30. Now, I know a lot of times you can get like a $1 deal to sign up, or they'll offer things. That's still a decent deal for Game Pass, considering that it's, I think, it comes to $17 a month after taxes in Canada. In Ontario and wherever else where there might be some income tax, or sorry, some sales tax differences, but you're looking at anywhere from $15 to $17 Canadian per month. So that's not bad. $30. You're basically getting the third month for free if you do it that way, if you get one of the cards that way. So again, not insane, nothing super spectacular that way. That's their front page. As far as anything else, all of the PlayStation hits lineup for PS4 is $10. That's the same sale they always do, pretty much every year. So don't run out. You don't have to run out and get it, because it's going to be that same price probably online for a long time. As far as knickknacks and stuff, they've got things like Animal Crossing mugs for $16, regularly $20. So a lot of the housewares and that sort of stuff, expect like 10-20% off. Little things that will get you back into the store. Nothing Halo related on sale, which is kind of surprising. It's all full price items. And that's pretty much it when it comes to GameStop stuff. As far as anybody else, I guess Best Buy is probably the last like regular retail flyer to look at. As far as anything else goes, they're not releasing their flyer. It's an online thing. They're just sort of showing a preview of some items that like Fire Sticks and all that sort of stuff, and it's all similarly priced to what you'd see on like Amazon when they have big sales there. It's mostly going to be the same prices that you get everywhere else. There's no like door crashers up in Canada for that. That'll be coming on our Boxing Day coverage here. So that's pretty much it when it comes to, I would say, the regular deals. It's all the first party Nintendo stuff is pretty much down on sale for one of the few times a year they do that. And then some pretty big deals from Ubisoft and some decent deals from Square and from Sony. And that's going to do it for, I guess, our little preview of what sales to watch out for, what you need to know that way. In the regular show that we're doing, depending on when this has been recorded and coming out, I will either have talked about or will be talking about a few items that you might want to pick up for Black Friday that aren't necessarily on sale, but might be like early. You might want to order them early to get them shipped to you before our regular gift guide comes out, because we know that logistics and shipping this year are going to be even crazier than normal, even more so than last year, because there's been an uptick in the amount of deliveries wanted and not enough people in the logistics community to get them to you. So we're going to take a break here and go into one of the reviews that we've got from either Birdman or myself. I'm not sure which just yet, and then I'll be back. I'm not sure if I'm going to be doing the weird news this week. It might just be more reviews or something to that effect. And then we're going to come back and close out the show. Nintendo sent over something physical, which is interesting because it's not that often that we get a lot of physical goodies to check out from them. But with holiday gift guides coming up and it's being Black Friday, Cyber Monday, Black Friday deals week, we had the opportunity to check out the Game & Watch Legend of Zelda edition. Which I'm very happy and surprised, because I remember last year when the Mario one came out, they were sold out everywhere. Nobody could find it. And we didn't get the opportunity to check it out. But this time they said, hey, Alex, would you like to check us out? And maybe, if you like it, talk about it on your gift guides and everything. And I thought, what, timing wise, yes. But I was worried that maybe this would be sold out. But I've seen it at retailers. Maybe they made more of them or something, because I know the demand is there, but it doesn't look like it's completely sold out, so that you can still get a chance to actually pick it up. Because it's to me, it's like, really, it's great promoting something, but what happens if you try to promote something or you review something and somebody wants to get it and then it's completely sold out, as with most of their big tech right now. Luckily, I think the price point and what it is, they printed enough. There might not be as much of a shortage. You're looking at, I think it's 50 US. So that would make it like 69-ish or something, 70 something in Canada. It's all going to depend on what you get on sale and what you get, where you get it from, retail, either on Amazon or in stores. But what you get with it, it comes in a cool box. You've probably seen people unbox it before, but I gotta say this, it is a pretty premium packaging for it, and it's lightweight. One cool thing that I don't think everybody's mentioned is there's sort of a molded plastic on the back that when you turn it on, part of the backlight is meant to sort of bleed through the plastic, and it lights up a bit of a Triforce symbol on the back as like a little Easter egg, which is neat. But it includes The Legend of Zelda, the original NES version. It includes Zelda 2 Adventures of Link. It includes Link's Awakening, the Game Boy game, not the colored DX version. Obviously, they had the full remake of it that we reviewed from Nintendo on the Switch. This is the original OG Game Boy version, green screen and everything. Like, you could emulate it and make it like emulators, or when they've done it before, there's always options to make it more like true black and white, but it emulates the green tinted screen that you get on the LCD. It also includes what else? There is why am I drawing a blank? It also has the a classic sort of whack-a-mole style Game and Watch game included, as well as interactive clock, because it's the watch thing where it shows levels and you can have the timer at the top left, and it's pretty fancy. The interesting thing too is if you wanted to keep it sort of on display on your shelf, the box that comes in almost it doubles as a stand that you can sort of make it a standee on your shelf behind glass or something. If you wanted to just have it off, if you wanted to use it as like an actual clock on your shelf, which is neat. It's lightweight. I have never actually owned a Game & Watch. I only ever held one once at a local gaming store, and I just never had a chance to really play with it or own it. It's pretty responsive. It works great. The battery life's pretty darn good on it too. I'd be interested to see if they start doing more of these. Like, wouldn't it be pretty fantastic if Metroid Dread sells well enough that we get a Metroid one next year or something? Maybe not necessarily an anniversary one, but like, let's just say they decided, hey, we're doing it, and they could maybe put out Metroid 1, Metroid 2, the Game Boy game. I guess include those two, and then what would they do for a third one? Maybe I don't know, some other Game & Watch stuff. There could be some fun stuff they could do with other franchises. I think this, compared to the Mario one, is almost a better value because they're larger games to play, and it's kind of neat playing the original Zelda Link's Awakening back in a handheld form on a device that has a better screen and better battery life than the original Game Boy ever did. So at that price, if it's in stock and you can pick it up, it's the right size. I know it's a little more than a stocking stuffer, but it is the right size to slip into a stocking for somebody or put together with a package. It's the kind of thing where I think you could make somebody's day if you picked this up and then picked up like a Zelda t-shirt or like a little bit of merch to go with it and put it in a slightly larger box. Like, somebody thinks, oh God, I'm just getting a sweater, but they open it up and inside there's like some Zelda merch and the Game & Watch, which is pretty sweet. So, keep an eye out for that. Look on Amazon, look around, look in your local stores. I don't think it's sold out everywhere. I think there's stock pretty much everywhere for it. So it's one that you might not think would still be in stock, but it is. I have been waiting for Shin Megami Tensei 5 since the, I guess, preview that we saw at the announcement of the Nintendo Switch. So we're talking, oh boy, 4 years, 5 years nearly. And I know it was probably in development. Probably before that. I mean, I know that there was just a teaser initially, but there'd be some pre-production work on there. So it was finally, went dark for a couple of years. We didn't hear anything about it. And then we finally heard about it. We got a remaster of Nocturne, and then, which I reviewed earlier in the year. And then we finally got the new copy. And a review code was provided to me from Atlus Sega. So thanks to them, I was able to check it out. Now, it did come, right on the wire of release. So that's why I tried to blast through the game as quickly as possible to get the review out so that it would be relevant. And I have some thoughts. I'm a little let down, and I don't want to, just start out the review that way, but it's a little disappointing, and not just because I was hyped it up. There are some elements here that work really well, and some elements that I'm scratching my head with, for a game that had this long in development. I'm just surprised at some things in it. Now, the game for the most part doesn't crash or anything. I never got kicked out or had it lock up on me or get stuck in the geometry or anything. So that has been well done here. I just have some issues with some design choices that make it more confusing than it needs to be. But before we get into that, the storyline behind the game, and I won't spoil anything except when it comes to an SMT game, you are basically, the world has ended, the world is screwed and ended, and you are here to or is about to end, and you're here to kill God and the devil and decide who you're going to side with. It's a much more cynical and nasty, dark approach to JRPGs than most others that are the happy-go-lucky teenager saves the world sort of thing. There's really no saving of the worlds in these games. It might be altering the world, it might be ruling the world, it might be it's picking the best of the worst situations possible. That's sort of the design of these games, and it's good because it breaks the mold. It's not like every other thing out there, cookie cutter. Previous games in the series, the Megami Tensei series, going back to I think Japanese computers, as well as the original Nintendo with Megami Tensei 1 and 2, and then there was Shin Megami Tensei, I think 1 and 2 maybe on the Super Nintendo, and then from there, we had was it Shin Megami Tensei? I think 1 and 2 were Super Nintendo games, and there were a bunch of spin-offs, and then there was the PS2 game, which was 3 was Nocturne, and that changed the style from the first-person dungeon crawl into sort of what eventually evolved into the gameplay style of Persona 3 and 4. They were much bigger refinements and alterations, obviously, in the game mechanics of how they play, but just the look and style of the third-person perspective, walking around traditional JRPG with the battle system, which I much prefer to first-person games. Then there was, after Nocturne came out, they switched production over to Nintendo and released SMT4, and I think Apocalypse, which was, if I'm drawing off the top of my head, I think it was a pseudo sequel, or was it an enhanced remake, something in that realm. And again, it was first person, and it was balls hard. They're known notoriously to be hard, to the point where you could enter a battle in the first level of the game, the very first part of the game, and an enemy could cast a death spell and kill your leader of the party, and then you got instant kill. This has been mitigated with an easier mode, and then as well as a downloaded mode you can get called Safety in this new version. So SMT5 goes back, leaps back over top of SMT4's design and goes back to Nocturne, to being a third-person perspective RPG. What's different here is it's much more of a platformer than anything. You're mostly spending 90% of the game in a couple larger open world dungeony style levels where you're running around, and you can run, but I'll get into some issues with that later. You run around, you slash the enemies to enter battle. The battle system is fantastic, hands down. It's similar to the refinements made for Persona 4 and 5, although because this was, I believe, in development in parallel with a different team to the Persona 5 game, Persona 5 is much more slick, and there's stuff there that just makes it better overall. If you're an old school JRPG fan, this is a little more up your alley. There's more strategy involved here, a little less flash, a little more substance, which is good. But again, we're used to, and I think a lot of people that they're going to be potentially marketing this towards, which is probably why they put the easier difficulty, it are people that played Persona 5 for the first time, or Golden and then 5, or just played Persona 5 and want to jump in because they're like, oh, it's the same people that made Persona. I'll get that. And then it turns out it's going to be a much different experience when it comes to how difficult or the art style, that sort of thing. But it is good in its own right, especially at a lower difficulty, because you're going to need to play it at a lower difficulty unless you're really a big expert on this. As far as the gameplay loop is, you're thrown into the apocalyptic world right away. We're talking like within about 10 minutes of gameplay. There's very little story buildup here, and I'm going to get in right now into my complaints first, because there is some stuff here that was mind-numbingly frustrating considering how long they had to develop this. The story itself is very sparse. You get a little bit of buildup at the very end of the game, but there's not enough meat on the bones to get you to connect to the characters before they're thrown into this world. And that's a bit of a complaint I had with Nocturne as well. Whereas Persona makes you love the characters, all of them. They all get deep and rich backstories, and you become attached when they have downfalls and trials and tribulations. Here, it's a few throwaway lines here and there with a few people, and then you barely see them for the most of the game. And then when they show up, you're supposed to have this feeling like they're good friends. There's a disconnect in what I think they're trying to deliver, and there's not a whole lot of story to this. It's just running around in the dungeon, beating some people up, and collecting items, getting a little more powerful, and then facing a few bosses. There's just not enough to really captivate you. It feels like the game is as large as some of the world elements are where you're running around, it just feels like it's a sandbox that's missing a lot of the charm and story, and I would say unique scripted events that you've come to get used to with RPGs nowadays. It's just something feels off. Like there's a lot of stuff there to do, but not enough real meaty content. Not a ton of side missions, and they attribute mostly just beat up a few people and beat up a few of these enemies and come talk to us and you get experience. It would be a pretty big level grind if you're not playing it on easy. Also, they have items you can purchase in the DLC store for like $3 or $4, and they make the Matamas show up more often. Those are the little elemental creatures that at first have a bit of a difficulty spike because they're immune to every attack and run away, except for one where they're super weak and you can kill them in one hit. So you basically have to, at the beginning of the game, if you find them, purchase spy glasses, which if you use them at the beginning of battle on one enemy, it'll show you what their weak point is, and hope that somebody in your party has the element or attack that they're weak against, and killing them at the beginning of the game will basically give everybody a level up. Plus it gives you some rare items that can also give you either levels up for yourself, levels up for your captured monsters, or items that can be sold for higher amounts of money. Just if you purchase that DLC and turn it on, they start showing up a lot. Like they're, instead of like, seeing one every like 10 minutes and in one little area, you'll fight like 30 of them. And it really helps with the level grind, because unless you really, really love older archaic level grinding where it takes forever to do things, it's worth the $3. As I hate to say it, and you're not spoiling anything because you're not playing competitively multiplayer. If you're somebody that doesn't want to spend hours and hours grinding, paying that extra couple bucks is probably worth it, because I was able to get to level 99 and beat the game in 20, I think it was 20-ish hours, whereas that would have been probably 40 hours of grinding if I just had to guess, or 40 hours to beat it if I was having to grind regularly. And I don't know if this game would have held my interest that long, because of some of the things where I'm like, it still seems a little incomplete with the storyline, and the level designs are all kind of, yes, it's post-apocalyptic, but there's not a whole lot to see or do. Everything looks sort of the same. There's a big issue with verticality. There's lots of things in the map that are hidden within the different dilapidated buildings, and you can jump, you can hide behind things, move around things, but you'll get an indicator on your map on where to go. But the problem is finding the places and how labyrinthine these levels are. you can easily get lost, get turned around, and you'll find out there's only one way to get to a thing. You got to find a way to get to the ledge and move there. In the meantime, certain areas of the map aren't revealed on your mini map right away. They're actually hidden and obscured by these sort of evil plant-like creatures that spawn enemies around them. If you kill them, that releases the miasma, the purple sort of fog, and reveals more of your map, and less enemies will show up in that area, and also unlocks miracles that you can then use a certain thing called, I think it's glory, that you can use, that you get from certain enemies and certain items, that will unlock extra perks for you. Things like easier to talk to enemies, or a +1 to certain attack abilities, or the ability to carry more monsters, or the ability to get more gold, that sort of stuff. So I made a point of trying to seek each one of those out before going to any of my main pointers on my map to get rid of them, because that made the map easier to see. But it was still, I feel like out of the 18 to 20 hours I played, about 5 hours was just me walking aimlessly, lost of where I was supposed to go and how I was supposed to get there, because the map and just the general design was too haphazard and cluttered. And that is not, exploration can be fun in certain games. It's not when it's frustrating, because you exploring is one thing, getting lost is another, and you tend to get lost more often than not. Now, luckily, there's lots of save points around the levels that you can save and transport freely between at any given time. So that was good. There's also some level, like zone area bosses, that are hard at the beginning, but you can beat afterwards if you figure out the pattern. I was able to beat a few at a lower level, because yes, I was playing it on slightly easier difficulty, but they would still give me a run for my money, to the point where I died like 4 or 5 times. And that feeling of just almost dying yourself but killing them, and then getting like 5 levels gained because you beat somebody at such a lower level, is really rewarding. There wasn't enough of them uniquely around. There's maybe like, I don't know, I beat 5 of them, and I thought I viewed everything on the maps and found them all. There's probably more that I haven't seen in some secret bosses. This was not provided to me. I did purchase the DLC that lets you fight the Demi-Fiend from Nocturne, as well as some of the super bosses from that. I was able to beat one of them, but they're supposed to show up on your map at different areas where you can like touch a pillar of light and fight them. They're all out. It's supposed to already be out. I don't know where to find the rest. I spent a couple hours running around every map, everything cleared, every map, and I could not find the next pillar of light. And there's supposed to be several. So I don't know if they're not already at launch. I haven't been able to find an answer with anybody online, because the game is so new. Or if it's just glitched and isn't there, if it's not populating. Maybe it's timed. I don't know what I'm doing wrong that I can't find it, because after you do all them, like, it says you can do that about halfway through the game. I got halfway through the game and I'm like, where's the rest? And then I beat the game and I'm like, where's the rest? And then after you beat them, you can take on the Demi-Fiend. And it says it's suggested to beat him post game, I guess, once you've leveled up everything to a higher level. I don't know. I'd still like to fight and see what happens. I know that there's a few different endings. Some of there's your 3 main endings. I won't go into what the details are of the 4th ending, but there's always a true secret ending, and that's the hardest one to get. I made some choices in the game that I know would probably make it so I couldn't see it. So I'll eventually have to watch somebody else's ending or do a replay of it. But I'm not trying to sound like I was down on it. I enjoyed a lot of things with this game. It just felt like it was still somewhat incomplete for a game that was waiting 5 years. There are parts of the game that look graphically amazing, and then it still has like resolution jaggedy edges and a frame rate that goes down to like 10 frames per second when you're in a cluttered area. And I know it's because we're hitting a limitation of the Switch, but for a game that started development on the Switch before the Switch was even out, I am surprised that it's not more optimized than it is. It is probably the team's first time that they've ever made a game on this kind of hardware with that kind of CPU. So I would be interested to see what it looks like, and if some of the graphical issues and performance issues were mitigated on, let's say, the PlayStation, if they were to make a PlayStation version. But as far as I know right now, it's only on the Switch. That being said, with me being all nitpicky, the audio is great, the voice acting is good, most of the visuals are fine, Performance, yeah, it can slow down at some parts, but overall it's pretty good. I would say out of all my little nitpicks, the only thing that I would complain is an actual problem, and some people might be discouraged and not actually be able to beat it or not even want to, is some of the confusion, like I said, revolving around the labyrinthiness of the overworld. And in particular, some of the later levels have a few missions and a few maps that are almost PS1/Saturn levels of obtuse and punishingly long or difficult labyrinths to get through. There is one in particular where you're using air vents that push you across the room to platform to other platforms and get to other areas of the room that, even looking at the map, it's hard to visualize in your head where it's going to push you to and where you need to get to. And you have to follow the pattern exactly. Some of it is like, walk past these things as they're all going off. Otherwise, they'll push you down a level, and you have to then take 10, 20 seconds or even a couple minutes to get back to where you were and hopefully not have to fight an enemy that spawned in. Or it's get pushed to one area, quickly run to another, get pushed to another area, time it right so that you get pushed amongst 3 different things, up into the air, over to the right, and then straight forward. And if your timing is off, you could get knocked back a good 2 to 3 minutes where you have to run back to where you were and start over. I was stuck in one room for a full hour for what should have been a 30-second thing. And I am a pretty good platform player. The issue is when you run, you hold in the L3 stick to activate run, releasing you should release on a dime. You have to manually press the L3 trigger or L3 button on your analog stick to stop the run, and you have a little momentum and you keep moving forward. It's very easy to accidentally run off the edge of something, or in the wrong direction, hit something, or just in general not get to where you need to go. The advantage of the run thing, like why would you run at all, is timing wise. You move really fast. You can navigate most of the maps that you're in very quickly and outrun almost any enemy if you have run on. The trouble is the way it's triggered is weird, and the controls aren't as precise as they really should be. That's something that can be fixed with a patch. Great. And that's a bit of a nitpick, but like I said, some of these dungeons, they are rather difficult and not necessarily entirely skill-based. If you're somebody who has trouble with spatial awareness, you're going to have a very hard time with a couple of these maps. Outside of that, that's the only complaint I could say that is a legit design choice problem that I have with it. Everything else is going to be subjective. I really enjoyed my time overall with it. I just felt it was a bit of a letdown from what I was hoping. I was hoping for production values at the level of Persona 5 and 4. And it's not quite there. It's not quite the prestige level, like the hype for it. Don't go into this thinking, oh my God, it's the next Persona game that way. As long as you do that, you're going to find a really good, solid battle system, fun RPG with just a really great atmosphere and great sound design. And it will make you start to think about the philosophical conundrums that are, what is heaven and earth and devils, and it plays with Judeo-Christian mythologies and adds to things, and it's pretty well put together that way. I just wish there was a little more story and that a little more thought had gone into some of the level design and mechanics. But other than that, it's a pretty solid release, and if you're looking for an RPG this holiday, it's going to be one that you'd want to check out, especially with the variable difficulty settings.
What in all of Primus?
They're like us.
Hey guys, this is Mike the Birdman here, and I'm here to talk about a cool Transformer we got her review from Hasbro Canada. We're going to be looking at Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy. I'm looking at the Voyager class figure for leader of the Maximals, Optimus Primal. So I grew up with Beast Wars, or Beasties if you lived in Canada, for a very long time. I'm a very big fan of Gary Chalk's work as Optimus Primal, and while the new Netflix series did not have any of the returning voices from the original Beast Wars series, it was still thoroughly enjoyable. You can go check out the review we did for that earlier on this year. So to talk about this figure, It's different because I actually have 2 Voyager scale class figures on my desk right now as I do these reviews. And I'm looking at Optimus Primal scaled next to Studio Series Retgar, and he is quite a bit taller than Optimus by at least an inch or so, maybe a little bit more than that actually. So the difference between this and the OG Beast Wars one, it comes down to scale. The original Beast Wars figure is significantly bigger. However, what it doesn't have is really good detail and sculpting that I think the modern figures have over the originals. Plus, it doesn't have anything gimmicky rather, like the flip out swords or the cannons or anything like that. It doesn't have any mechanical moving parts. So what you're getting is a better sculpted figure with, I would say, superior posability, plus a transformation that literally will take you about 30 seconds. You don't even really need to look at the instructions to really flip him into his new robot monkey mode or ape mode, whatever, or his beast mode. So one of the cool things I really do appreciate about the new Optimus Primal is I really love the head sculpt. Yes, it's a traditional Optimus Prime head, but you look at the detail on the lips, which is always what set the Optimus Primal apart from previous Optimuses up to that point. They look good. His shoulder cannons also move, and when he transforms into beast mode, you can hide those, which I thought was actually pretty cool. There's also weapon storage in his robot mode too, so you can take his dual swords and stick those on his back. There's like a little tab that just slides right in, and they're fairly secure. One of the other things that I also like on this is the paint detailing. I like how bright red his like joints are. I'm especially a big fan. This is going to be a weird thing to like. On his leg, on his feet, he has these, I guess they're like hydraulics of some type, and those are painted really well. There's like a red and blue, and it's very reminiscent of what I remember of the original figure, and definitely representative of the old show and the new one as well. Posability is fantastic. You can do a lot of stuff with this, and because he's smaller, I think he scales really well with this line's Beast Wars Megatron, who is a monster and looks friggin' awesome in dinosaur mode or in actual kind of robot mode. So to talk about the beast mode for Optimus Primal, it's a monkey. What more do you want? I mean, obviously you look at some of the vehicles and some of the other things from the Kingdom line, and some of them are really, really impressive. I've actually been fairly impressed with a lot of the Beast Wars updates. I just got Dinobot for my birthday a little while ago, and he's really good, and he does stand taller than Optimus, but not by much. So can I recommend Beast Wars Optimus Prime here? So I'm a big fan of having iconic leader characters, and I don't think Optimus Primal is a bad figure at all. I wish he was a little bit taller if I had to do anything, but then I wonder how much out of scale he would be standing next to a Megatron, for example, or the Optimus Prime in the line, who, if I remember correctly, is also quite a bit taller. So overall, I think Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy Optimus Primal, it's a good figure. I like the fact that his guns come out from his like wrists. That's a nice touch, and I'm really glad they didn't forget that. I like how the guns are not gimmicky. They're not wired to springs or anything like that. They're storage for his weapons. That's cool. And it's a nice little figure. So if you're looking for something that's a nice update to the previous Beast Wars figures, and if you can't find the OG re-release that is on shelves right now, then Transformers Kingdom War for Cybertron Trilogy Voyager class Optimus Primal definitely gets a maximize from us here at This Week in Geek.
Autobots, maximize!
Those magnificent bastards. Color me kooky, but something very odd is going on around here.
You're not allowed to talk anymore.
And that is going to do it for the show this week. what do we have coming up? Well, we've got a Turner Treasure review roundup that's going to contain a bunch of a smorgasbord of different things. Some of the stuff I mentioned earlier at the beginning of the intro, as well as some others that Birdman will have. I think he's got like a Nerf gun or something, some other stuff that we're going to throw in. We are working on doing a joint review of there's a trilogy of the G.I. Joe collection. Birdman hadn't seen Snake Eyes. I saw it in theaters. And they released a package that has the all three G.I. Joe movies in 4K. There's Crocodile Dundee trilogy that I'll be throwing in as well. As far as other shows, we've also got I think, I'm not 100% sure. You should be hearing a new Future Imperfect that Birdman and Aaron recorded together. There was also going to be a extended prototype, and I talk about extended discussion on Call of Duty Vanguard, and that should be out tomorrow. And that is over an hour, and it's not boring. It is. We are going into it. We go into it from very different perspectives of what we like in a game, and I think we had a pretty good time discussing it. There's good aspects of the game, and then there's stuff in there that is bewildering that we will have to discuss and you'll have to hear. So we've got those two coming out. I have to, because we ran out of stuff I had edited for Aaron and Darlene's Earth versus Soup. Now, it's not out of programs, it's out of stuff I had ready to go before my brain went, and I shut down for a couple days. So I have to edit and get a bunch out, but there's like 20 more episodes or 25 more episodes. So there'll be those coming up as well. As the regular show is coming out, we're recording Stargate TWIG or our actual play podcast this weekend, our first session. So you can look forward to that. And plenty more from our friends at Nerd to the Third Power and other collaborations. And then we're back to our regular programming on Monday. So that's going to do it. Little outro here. I'll be back with Birdman.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
Thanks for listening to this episode of This Week in Geek. Hungry for more? Check out our website at thisweekingeek.net. You can subscribe to the podcast, browse our Twitter and Instagram, and leave your thoughts on today's topics. If you'd like to give us some feedback, send us an email at feedback@thisweekingeek.net. Tune in next time, and remember,
lower your shields and surrender your listenership.
We would be honored if you would join us.
Thank you for your cooperation. Good night.